Today I've been given this topic biologics in rheumatology, and I've been given 15 minutes for this perplexing topic. So without wasting any time, let's begin with the prelude. Let's begin with the let's begin with the conventional disease of rheumatology, that is rheumatoid arthritis. The treatment pyramid which was there for treatment of rheumatoid arthritis. We had seen that in 1980s, 1990s and early 2000s, the NSAIDs and oral steroids were the first drugs which were used for treatment of rheumatoid arthritis. If there was no improvement, then there were anti-malarial sulfasalazine was added. If there was no improvement, then methotrexate, penicillamine was used, and then biologicals and experimental drugs were used. But since then, since last 2 to 3 decades, what we have seen is the inversion of this pyramid. Initially, we now start the treatment with the synthetic DMARDs, methotrexate, leflunomide, sulfasalazine, and anti-malarials. And as soon as we don't see any response, we then shift to biological DMARDs and JAK inhibitors. The target is to achieve remission as soon as possible, and then slowly decrease the doses of drug and maintain that remission. So the role of DMARDs previously was second line drug in rheumatoid arthritis and in all other rheumatological diseases, but now these are not second line anymore. These are the first line drugs which we use, and the motto has changed from start low, go slow to early aggressive onset of treatment. So there has been 4 T's that have revolutionized the treatment in rheumatoid arthritis. These are time to treat, treat to target, treatment strategies, and targeted therapies. So time to treat is earlier commencement of treatment. Second is treat to target, that is in hypertension we have blood pressure monitoring, in diabetes we have sugars monitoring, HbA1c, but in RA, in SLE, these are systemic multisystem complex rheumatic diseases. So there are complex indices which have devised, and for rheumatoid arthritis there is a DAS28 score. So that is used as target. Treatment strategies, old drugs are used now in new ways. For example, in combination, or the doses are higher as compared to previously. And the today's topic of interest is targeted therapies, that is biologics. So targeted therapies in rheumatology are divided into biologics. These are further divided into 2 types, monoclonal antibodies and receptor constructs or fusion proteins. And the newer one everybody knows, JAK inhibitors. These are tofacitinib, baricitinib, upadacitinib. These new drugs are coming, more and more drugs are coming now. So moving to biologics, what are biologics? Biologics are the therapeutic agents which are produced by means of biological processes and not by chemical processes. These are produced using a recombinant DNA technology. And the commonest example which we use in day-to-day practice are erythropoietins, growth hormones, human insulins. These are the biological products. And with respect to autoimmune rheumatic diseases, we have monoclonal antibodies and receptor constructs. So what was done before, that is this carpet bombing approach was used, or saturation bombing approach was used. The drugs were having broad spectrum immunosuppressant action, and they did improve the outcome of the disease, but they also had untoward side effects. And this has now been replaced with the precision bombing. The the molecules of interest which are important in the pathogenesis of certain diseases are picked up, and those are inhibited by this new types of molecules. So this is called as precision bombing, and therefore we have a faster onset of action, and we also have minimum side effects. So the monoclonal antibody, these are the custom designed antibodies used to counteract either a cytokine. For example, TNF inhibitors target TNF alpha molecule, or they target a particular cell. For example, anti-CD20 antibodies, they target B cells. Similarly, we have fusion proteins. These are naturally occurring receptors which are linked to the FC segment of the human antibody. The examples of monoclonal antibodies are infliximab, adalimumab, tocilizumab, golimumab, etc. And the examples of the receptor construct proteins are etanercept and abatacept. So the nomenclature is more perplexing. To know the nomenclature, we should know the basic structure of an antibody. The antibody has Fab segment, which has antigen binding site, which is responsible for binding with the antigen, and it also has a FC segment. So based on this Fab segment, if it is completely derived from mice, then it is called as murine antibody, and MO is used as suffix. If it is part human, part mice, Z is used. For example, rituximab, infliximab, these are chimeric antibodies. Zu is used when it is a humanized antibody. For example, tocilizumab is there. And Mu is used if it is fully human antibody, for example, adalimumab and golimumab. Let's understand this from this particular image. These are all TNF inhibitors available in the market. So first one is infliximab. We can see that there is a part mouse antibody and part human Fab segment. Adalimumab and golimumab has completely human segment. Etanercept has this TNF receptor 2, and certolizumab pegol is a different molecule. The Fab segment of the human antibody is pegylated. So because of attachment with the pegol, it has a long duration of action. So how these antibodies work, how these biologics work. So the nomenclature is very complex for an uninitiated person. It is a bewilderingly complex entity, but the basics are very simple. This is a cell. Suppose it is an immunological cell, it has a cellular receptor and a cytokine. Cytokine binds to the receptor and it produces intracellular cascade for the protein synthesis, and the inflammatory proteins are produced by this particular cell. So what these infliximab, adalimumab, anakinra, etanercept, all these molecules they do, they inhibit either the cytokine or the cellular receptor and prevent formation of these inflammatory molecules. Let us understand with the example of TNF inhibitors. This is a soluble TNF, if you can see, and this is a membrane bound TNF. So antibody, when it binds to the soluble TNF and membrane bound TNF, it neutralizes it and prevents its further course of action. Also, after binding, there can be outside to inside signaling that causes the apoptosis of target cells, and this also causes production of anti-inflammatory rather than inflammatory molecules by these target cells. Also, there is an entity called as Fc-mediated apoptosis, where the Fc portion of this antibody, it attaches to the Fc receptor, which is present on NK cell, and causes antibody-dependent cellular cytotoxicity. Or there can be a complement activation, and it can cause complement-dependent cytotoxicity. This is the example with abatacept, where we can see the interaction between antigen presenting cell and T cell is required for activation of T cell. Abatacept causes blockade of this co-stimulatory pathway of T cell and thus prevents activity of T cells. Similarly, there are anti-CD20 molecules. We have known rituximab, others are ocrelizumab, ofatumumab, etc. So the CD20 marker is present on this particular B cell lineage, and because of the binding with these particular antibodies, these mature B cells, mature activated B cells, memory B cells, these are all depleted, and that causes prevention of further immunogenic cascade. So in a rheumatologist's armamentarium, there are various drugs which have been added from before. We can see here that in 1930s, initially the treatment was with gold salts and NSAIDs. In 1950, first time glucocorticoid was discovered, and it was first given to an RA patient, for which the scientist also received Nobel Prize. Later in 1988, methotrexate was discovered and available. Then leflunomide, etanercept was the first biological available for rheumatoid arthritis treatment. And since then, many drugs have been added to this armamentarium. And now the today's rheumatologists have a problem of plenty. You can see that this particular image is showing the available antibodies for treatment of RA. Of course, not all these are available in India, but many are getting available. And all the way from TNF inhibitors, B cell depletion, we also have interleukin 6 inhibition, interleukin 1, 17, 23, GM-CSF inhibition, all for treatment of RA. And also we have rank inhibitors for treatment of osteoporosis. So today's problem is problem of plenty. And thus the rheumatologist's next big challenge is from this targeted treatment, which have helped us so much, to the personalized treatment based on a person's genomics, based on his ethnicity, based on his environment. What drug will benefit him more with minimum side effects, that we have to determine. So as we discussed, we are moving from the synthetic towards biological DMARDs, and in certain scenarios we are also using the combination of all these conventional DMARDs and biological DMARDs. Also, I would like to touch upon biosimilars. As you have seen, these biologicals are larger complex protein molecules, and it takes billions of dollars to produce one molecule, and thus these are very costly molecules. And as the patent of these drugs expire, we get what we call as biosimilars. For other drugs, we have generic drugs. Similarly, for biologics, we have biosimilar drugs. So what is biosimilar? Biosimilar is a biotherapeutic product which is similar in terms of quality, safety and efficacy to an already licensed reference biotherapeutic product, and which similarly defined absence of relevance difference in the parameter of interest. This is the definition given by WHO expert committee in 2009. So to conclude, the previous treatment of rheumatology, which we have seen, the inverted pyramid, initially the target of treatment was symptom relief. Nowadays, the target of treatment is remission. Remission is also defined variously: clinical remission, immunological remission. There are various definitions of remission, but the future is drug-free remission. So after giving drug, the target is to stop drug and still maintain the remission. And thus, rheumatology is moving from symptom relief to the potential cure. Thank you.
Our next session, the speaker is Dr. Venkatesh Methan, and the chair